You're listening to a Cult Talk Network podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to Cult of Campbell. I'm Ty.
I'm Bailey.
And it is Cultober, the return. And we are revisiting Cult of Campbell. This is only the second episode of Cult of Campbell we've done since July.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we did McHale's Navy. And then we made our return. We kicked off Cultober last week with one of the hidden gems in the Bruce Campbell filmography, Maniac Cop 2.
Oh, gosh.
Mike and I.
Oh, gosh.
Today, it's me and you, Bailey, and we're not talking about conspiracies.
We're not. Not today.
We're talking about a movie that is certainly not a hidden gem in the filmography of Bruce. It is the 1992 sci-fi horror action thriller MindWarp.
It is. And before we even get into this, I will tell you, this movie did not bring me joy. Did not bring me joy.
Oh, man. Oh, it was also released as Brain Slasher outside of the United States.
I was reading a little bit about that. I wonder why it was called Brain Slasher.
I don't know. There's weird things like that I've noticed. Like, we've seen it a couple times in Bruce movies where, like, movies will have different titles in the U.S. and outside the U.S. Because I think even Evil Dead had a different title when it was released, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Could be wrong, but I remember it having a different name outside of the U.S.
Too. That would be so weird, like, knowing Evil Dead is something different, because, like, that's such a a trademark here in the U.S. Like,
right.
That Evil Dead is Evil Dead. So I couldn't imagine that one being named anything different.
Because even like George Romero, Dawn of the Dead and all that stuff, it's released outside the U.S. as Zombie.
Really?
So it even has, it's not Dawn of the Dead and all that outside the U.S. It's just known as Zombie. And there's like all kinds of like really shitty movies, like really shitty Italian zombie movies, just kind of picked up on that with calling themselves Zombie 2 and Zombie 3 and stuff. But I could be wrong on the Evil Dead thing. It looks like it was released Evil Dead. Anyways, MindWarp is not Evil Dead.
No
Definitely not. This movie was most notable for being one of the 3 movies produced by Fangoria. Do you know Fangoria? Are you familiar with that?
I'm not.
Ben would definitely know. I think out of all the Cult Talk Net people, aside myself, it'd be Ben would know Fangoria. Fangoria was, before the internet and everything, Fangoria was the horror film magazine. It would come out every month, and it was strictly about horror films. And it would be behind-the-scenes stuff and upcoming releases and all this stuff. Well, in the 90s, they decided, they write about horror movies enough. Why not start a production company? So they started Fangoria Films, and MindWarp was one of them. A movie called Children of the Night was another one in 91.
I think I've heard of that one.
I think I've seen that in the video store back in the day, but I don't think I ever watched it. And then another one was a movie called Severed Ties in 92. It was a comedy. Fangoria Films did not fare that well, unfortunately, but this was the first Fangoria Films presentation. So they came out strong with they knew what they were doing with grabbing Bruce Campbell and putting him in something. This is 92. It says here on the wiki that it released in 90, but it came out in 92.
Yeah,
so I don't know why it says that.
I got IMDb as 92. So.
Yeah, so 92 would have been like hot off of Army of Darkness.
Oh yeah, like Bruce in his prime, and I mean, he looks good in this movie. Like he really does look like he is like in his star movie time. Like Bruce always just has like such an old Hollywood glamour look to him as well.
He does. I've always thought that. Like, remember that Peter Jackson King Kong movie? Remember that one?
Yes.
I've always thought he should have got cast as the Hollywood action star they get in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know how they get like the guy to star in the movie? That's always what I was like. That is like the epitome of Bruce Campbell. He's got that old Hollywood, oozing machismo.
That charm and cheese to him. Just, like, let him go on set and be Bruce. That'll be fine.
Right. And MindWarp, he definitely was like, it was prime Bruce. I mean, he looked good. He was, had the swagger and stuff. It was kind of a different role. I did not know what to expect coming into MindWarp.
I had no idea.
Because you look at the posters and stuff, and it looks like a Matrix style, like, knockoff kind of thing. You know, like one of those, like, cyber thrillers or something.
Yeah, and I was definitely getting, like, for me, the whole time I kept watching it, I kept getting, like, and don't come for me. I kept getting, like, Matrix meets Mad Max in the 90s. Themes. Like, I mean, like, even more 90s than what the Matrix was made in and Mad Max.
Yes.
Well, Mad Max, I think, was...
Mad Max was 80s.
80s? Was it 80s?
Yeah, that was an 80s franchise.
Oh, okay. See, I've only seen the new one, and I think it was, like, 2010s. If I'm not mistaken. It's more homework I need to do is watch more Mad Max.
That's a solid flick. But there's a really weird time in movies where, like, you had Blade Runner and then The Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's, like, this weird period between those two movies where, I don't know, it's like sci-fi really didn't have a direction. Everyone was, like, trying to emulate Blade Runner, and it was, like, pre-Matrix. I don't know, it's really weird. I talk about it in the last Bruce Campbell Mind movie we watched, the notorious Minnow's Mind.
Oh.
Which I will say, I don't want to give any spoilers, but I'm gonna, if I could make any suggestion to Bruce, it would be to avoid movies that include the title, include the word mind in the title.
Oh boy.
That would be my my word of advice to Bruce.
Stay away from him, Brucey.
Stay away from him. Now, we'll see if maybe... So this movie was directed by Steve Barnett, who I am not familiar with. Has he done anything of interest outside of MindWarp?
So I was looking at him, and it looks like all he's really done is, like, MindWarp. Like, he's worked on a couple other things. Like, he worked on Life of Pi. He worked on a couple other newer things as well. However, like, he's really mainly done, as far as directing, like, a lot of crime TV shows. He did the U.S. Customs Classified, Cop Files, Arrest and Trials. He did Scanner Cop 2. He did MindWarp, Mission of Justice, which was labeled as a video.
So he was, like, did a lot of, like, the early 90s, like, low budget stuff.
Yeah.
But he's still working in Hollywood, though, you said?
From what I could find, I saw where he did a recent one. Good Lord. Production manager. Yeah, he did Prey, The Princess. He was actually a part of the Bob's Burgers movie.
Wow.
He was a post-production executive, which was uncredited. So that's been, we're huge Bob's Burgers fans in my household. So that's actually pretty good, which makes me wonder, like, what happened here, Steve? But he did Free Guy. He was a post-production executive in Free Guy. Also uncredited. A lot of these are uncredited for him, which is weird. But yeah, he's done, like, post-production. But as far as, like, directing, he's only got, like, these 9 credits as far as IMDb goes.
Gotcha. And it was written by John Brancato and Michael Ferris, who apparently are a team. They're a writing team.
Yeah.
They're a writing duo.
Yeah, I saw where Michael and John both worked on Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines.
Terminator 3 and Catwoman. 2004's Catwoman.
Who was 2004 Catwoman?
Halle Berry. You ever seen that?
Halle Berry.
You've never seen that, have you, Bailey?
I have not.
Don't worry about it. That's not one I'm gonna jump on you for not watching. That one is garbage.
I feel like I've seen parts of it just from where I was little, and I'd walk in on, like, my parents watching a movie or something. So I feel like I've seen parts of it. I've seen more of Anne Hathaway's Catwoman, but I've heard Halle Berry does one of the best. So
ooh, I don't know who you're hearing that from.
I don't know. That's what I've heard. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe I'm listening to the hype too much. I don't know.
Maybe. And so they worked on Terminator 3. That's pretty big. I mean, it's not a great movie, but that's pretty big. Catwoman, pretty bad movie, but still pretty big. One that I know Ben will be familiar with, Primeval. And we've actually touched on it in Cult Talks Weird Shit, because Ben did the presentation for Gustav, the killer crocodile.
Oh, yeah.
Primeval is the movie based on Gustav.
That's right. Yes.
So they wrote that. They also wrote Terminator Salvation. So they wrote the fourth film chronologically in the Terminator movie, because it's Terminator franchise is a mess. But as far as releases, they wrote the third and the fourth Terminator movies. And they've done a couple of little things, looks like. Interestingly enough, they did not write MindWarp as John Brancato and Michael Ferris, because it is credited as Henry Dominic.
Oh!
So they went under a pen name as Henry Dominic.
Interesting.
So they apparently weren't too thrilled with the movie for them to go under an alias. So, and interestingly enough, they also had a hand as in writing the third Fangoria Presents movie, Severed Ties, which they also did as Henry Dominic. So, now we'll see if maybe, like the last time we reviewed a Mind movie, maybe John and Michael will reach out to us and start dissing our audience.
We have 20s of fans now, just so you know.
We do have 20s of fans.
We have 20s of fans now.
20s of fans. We actually have a pretty sizable fan base now, thankfully. Unlike when we came to our first encounter with the writer of Minnow's Mind, who had a lot of things to say to me and stuff.
I would love to talk with them. I don't want to say it flopped, because this is my first time seeing it, and I need to research more into it, because people are going to be like, "Oh, it flopped," and I'm like, "No, I want to see it flop. I want to know for myself."
Oh, you don't want to watch Minnow's Mind.
Oh God.
Well, if you do, it's for free on Tubi. So. But yeah, Mark Valenti, who, I asked if he'd like to be on the show, but he never responded.
I would love to get him on the show. Like, I'd love to get these writers.
He didn't like the things I said about his movie, but I think we made up in the end, though. I think so. we walked away having a little bit of respect for each other at the end of it. So, but I asked him if he'd like to be on the movie, but he didn't be on the show, but he never responded. But Michael and John, all things aside, I think this is a much better movie than Minnow's Mind. And I think we can talk about it here in our next segment. Before we get to that, this movie, of course, the reason we're here, stars Bruce Campbell. And the other notable actor, you won't know this one, Bailey, but I think our audience and horror aficionados will know him. It's Angus Scrimm. Now, Angus Scrimm, he is one of the horror, like, boogeymen. Like, you have your boogeymen like Jason and Freddy and stuff. Well, Angus Scrimm is on probably like a C tier of that, because he played the tall man in the Phantasm series. So the Phantasm movies, they've been going on since the 70s. I think there's 7 of them. No, 5. There's 5 total. Wow, and they seem to release like every decade. They're like every decade one would like get squeezed out somewhere, like straight to video, I think. But he played the tall man throughout the entirety of his career, and even like the last Phantasm movie was his last movie before he passed away. So yeah, he's a very daunting looking guy. He's very tall and just has this very menacing look about him. He plays in this, and it's interesting little connection, a Campbell connection, which I like to try to draw when we can. The director of the Phantasm movies, Don Cascarelli, he is the director of Bubba Hotep.
Oh,
so there's a little Campbell connection. So
that's cool.
He's the director of Bubba Hotep, and he's worked with both Angus and Bruce on different projects, and they're both together here in MindWarp. So let's go ahead. Happy Cultober. Let's get groovy.
Grab your boomstick and fire up the Delta. It's time for ACTION. Join the Cult of Campbell.
Groovy.
And if you're lucky a little later,
I'll let you play with my boomstick!
All right, we are back. Bailey, have you ever watched MindWarp?
I had not prior to last night, and let me tell you, I have the plague right now, and this movie did not make me feel better. I have a lot of questions, so we're gonna have to dive into those. But
I have a lot of questions as well, and I don't think any of them are going to get answered because this movie is all over the place. Like even leading up to it, I try not to. If it's a movie I haven't seen before, I try not to dive too deep into it because I want to get that experience of seeing it the first time and being able to talk about it on the show. Even movies that I haven't seen in a while. Like I know here later in Cultober we have for Cult of Campbell we have Terminal Invasion, which was a movie I loved when I was a kid, and also we have Sundown, which is our Halloween special.
Yeah,
I had never seen it. I want to see it, but I know I'm going to wait till the very last minute to watch it just to get the experience. But MindWarp, I kind of would see things online, when I'm looking at Bruce Campbell stuff, because I spend a lot of my time looking at Bruce Campbell stuff. It comes to the territory of running the #1 Bruce Campbell podcast in the world.
He gets to mix his business and pleasure that way.
Yes. I would see screenshots and pictures of MindWarp, and I couldn't understand what it was, because all the promotional stuff, the posters and all that stuff, make it look like a techno movie, like a technology cyberpunk thing. But then you would see these pictures of the actual movie, and it's like this post-apocalyptic Mad Max type thing. So I was like, "What is this movie going to be?" And when it boils down to it, it is just a mess of all these things.
It really is.
If you've ever watched any sci-fi movie ever, it's got something from it. It takes from everything. It's pulling tropes from every style of sci. If the only thing they're missing is aliens. If there had been aliens in it, it would have capped off the sci-fi stew that they were making here, because that's what it was. Is a little bit of every piece of sci-fi trope thrown into one movie. And it's a wild ride.
It really is. You don't know where you're going at all. And I'm very much kind of like you, Tyler. I don't watch a whole lot of what a movie is, and when I go into it, I probably had a month to look into MindWarp, and I absolutely refuse to, and I'll just go it completely blind and just not have any expectations, or have not really know what I'm getting into. I knew MindWarp. I pretty much knew nothing about this movie other than it was going to be a Bruce Campbell movie. And whenever it's a Bruce Campbell movie and it doesn't open with Bruce Campbell, it makes my heart a little sad. So my heart was a little sad at first, and then it was filled with joy when Bruce Campbell came, in his full I guess post-apocalyptic hazmat gear is what we're going to call that. His
I think it's 20 minutes in, I think we get, if I remember right.
It is a while. It is a slow crawl.
Yeah. I looked at it when he finally popped up. I paused the movie to see where it was at. Because it happens a few times where we've seen Bruce as the top billed person in a movie. And it's very much underwhelming because it's a very little Bruce. I think he was even top billed in Minnow's Mind, and he has a total of 7 minutes screen time or something like that in Minnow's Mind. So
was he top billed in Congo? I want to know.
No, okay. He wasn't top billed in Congo.
I was getting ready to say that was cheap. That was cheap. But okay, they're safe now.
So our movie takes place in the year 2037, after the loss of the ozone layer has left the entire planet a desolate wasteland, scattered with highly radioactive death zones. But there are still these little pockets of civilization that are these, again, if you ever watch early 90s sci-fi movies, there are these I don't even know how you describe them, these sterile, it's a weird vision these people in the 90s and 80s had of the future. It's this sterile, white, bright, I don't even know, hard on the eyes. I don't even know how to put it. It's basically just you're walking into an Apple store. They thought everything was going to look like an Apple store.
Oh, that's gross. I don't like the thought of that. Yeah. I don't know. It just looks because I'm thinking about the first scene. where like it looks all plastic. Like it just looks artificial to me. Like that's the first word that comes to my mind. It's plastic.
Yeah.
And like maybe they make it that way to like make the real world less appealing than what the what the dream world is and whatnot. Maybe, I don't know. Either way, like it does not look comfortable. It definitely does look like very sterile. I don't know if like clean is the right word, because I mean it looks clean, but it looks clean because no one's touched it. So like I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. I don't like the 90s futurist designs that they had for us.
Right.
So.
Now there's like two different worlds, right? There's like the in world, I think they call it, and the out world. I remember that's what it is. So this is all controlled by this super company called Infinicent.
Yeah.
And they give like there's like a narrator at the beginning, and we find out that, there are these little pockets of civilization that still flourish, and they're these like super sterile, futuristic areas. But then the rest of the population has been reduced to these things called crawlers. Now, crawlers are these cannibalistic mutants that dwell underground, and they're very primal. They speak in grunts, and they're miners. They mine garbage dumps, which is a big thing in the movie. And these are the occupants of the Outworld, if I remember correctly.
They were saying all kinds of stuff about the crawlers. Like they know that like, you're like an outworlder because like you'll have like sores and scars and everything all over your face because of just like how much chemical is like in the ground is from what I can understand. And like it has to do with like when you lose the ozone layer as well.
Yeah. So you're basically like absorbing all the radiation from space because space is full of radiation. So our three main like factions, I guess, you have the crawlers, which are mutants. You have outworlders that are unmutated humans that live in the death zone.
Right.
And then you have dreamers who live in Inworld, which is a big biosphere that's maintained by Infinicent. There's like a big central computer, and they spend all their time plugged in with these implants in their neck that let them live in this virtual reality fantasy. Basically, they've escaped the reality of the world and are now living in this like perfect fantasy world. Like they're just living their lives through virtual reality.
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss, yeah. And they all have these horts in the back of their neck, which are like these like 9-pin.
Painful. Like if you look at hers, if you look at Judy's, the main character, like it looks painful because it looks like at one point like it actually sticks out from her neck. Like I understand like the design is probably for it to be like flesh, but it literally looks like it like humps out of her neck, and it looks really, really gross. So, like just really like that looks sterile. That's what that looks like. That does not look kosher to me. No, thank you.
So Judy, you're talking about Judy here. She is our heroine. She's our main character. And she's a dreamer, and she lives with her mom. And she is getting just unsatisfied with the life they have. She's like, she knows it's all fake, and she wants to like, I guess, see what reality is. Yeah. She somehow wakes herself up.
Which is really strange. And they even like point to that first thing in the movie when, because the mom wakes up with her or like hours later from her, because they even say in the movie, they only have enough time. They're only awake enough time to get something to eat and use the bathroom, and then they plug back in. So they're only awake maybe 15, 20 minutes out of the day. And then they're just right back into bed. And they even say like, how did you get unplugged? Like, how are you doing this right now? And she's up for like hours, or what is made to seem like hours. And like, there's no window in this place, which also bothers me. Like, you can't see outside in this little place. So we don't even know like what's happening. Like, what's actually happening.
I feel like that's probably the point too. Like, why would you want a window in this place,
Right. And they even say, we give you everything you ever could have wanted. Like, if you want to go to heaven and shake the hand of God, Like, there's a program for that, which, first of all, that's fucking scary. I don't like that. Like, no. Because life is meant to be experienced. We're not meant to be plugged. Anyway, that's a whole other thing.
Right.
We'll get into that
later. This is one of those things where I think people are kind of getting the idea of the Matrix a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And this like early Matrix stuff. Maybe the Wachowskis watched this movie at some point and cherry picked them in. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't want to say they had to. Not that they had to, but I would say like, I'll say it later, but I'll say it again later. But like, this is one of those like post-apocalyptic movies that you kind of need to watch if you're gonna dive into that, because it also gives like a possible like post-apocalyptic world that we could end up in. Because like, I mean, scientists have talked about like us shedding the ozone layer for decades now.
Mm-hmm.
So like, this is a real possibility. I'm not saying crawlers are going to happen. But I'm saying like, watch yourself. Like,
yeah, like I won't say this movie is like shit. 'Cause it's not. All the pieces are there. Like there's stuff in the movie that's really good. Mm-hmm. I will say. But it's just the execution of it sometimes. Which there's a lot of movies I've seen that like that. Exactly. They start out so hot and so heavy, and then it kind of peters out into a mess at a certain point. But this movie does have some pretty cool little ideas, and I think I would say that I'm not speaking the Wachowskis, but I bet the Wachowskis watched MindWarp at some point.
I would say so. I would say they've either watched it or they've seen bits of it, and
I'm sure when they was researching. No, I'm sure when they was researching the Matrix, they came across MindWarp, because MindWarp does have a lot of similarities to the Matrix, in the way it executes things. But this does come hand in hand with, like, I know you and I talked about the Matrix, the actual conspiracy theory of the Matrix, and one of the things I talk about is like if this reality that we have now is a simulation, and this is far from a perfect reality that we live in currently. So what would the outside world be like? And I think this plays a good idea of that, of what if it was this post-apocalyptic desolate landscape, and this reality that we live in, that we know currently, is the best option out of the two. It's one of those things that makes you think. But I think they did a really good job building that. Like this virtual reality world that these people have built is their escape from this hell that is reality in this.
Right. Yeah.
So Judy, like we said, she breaks out of virtual reality. Her mom ends up dying. She ends up causing her mother to die in the real world. And for interfering with dreams, Judy gets exiled from the in-world by the system operator. The system operator, he controls.
Is that why she was exiled? Because I did not pick up on that.
For interfering with dreams of other users. That's her penalty. She interfered with someone else's dream. So for that, the system operator exiles her to the outworld. The system operator controls Infinicit.
Yeah.
So she gets dropped into the outworld and immediately falls down a pit, right? She falls in some kind of pit. And gets saved.
Yeah. Now I know what you're talking about. Yeah, she falls in like a quicksand type of thing.
Some sort of thing, and like some kind of like mud pit thing. And then like she gets saved, or she thinks she gets saved by these tractor driving humanoids who pull her out of the mess she's in, and immediately she realizes they're not there to save her. They're crawlers.
She goes from thank you, oh thank you, ah!
Yeah. And they throw her in the back of their tractor and they start driving off. But luckily, there's hope. Because in the outworld, there is Stover.
Our hero.
Played by the pelt-wearing, bow-wielding Bruce Campbell. Who comes to save the day, takes out the crawlers, and he believes that he is the last normal human being left alive.
Oh yeah.
And he's been protecting himself with these pelts and stuff he has. He basically has like a makeshift hazmat suit. He's made out of like animals and various fabrics and stuff. And he survives on eating small animals. He like purifies water and stuff like that. So he's basically a survivalist.
Yeah, like he's covered head to toe. Like, I mean, he's got like glasses. He's got, his skin covered up head to toe. He's figured out I think he hunts like possum. Like, I think that was something that I heard.
Yeah, like little animals, small animals he hunts. He has like a makeshift like little house and stuff that he's built out in the woods. The location they used for the Outworld I thought was very cool. Like, yeah. Because it was, I see they filmed it in Michigan, which makes, I kind of thought it was Michigan off the bat. Because I knew there was like, because you had like these like sand dunes, but then you also had these like piles of ice and stuff.
Right. And I remember Ben and I were watching it last night and we were going like, okay, so now it's like really hot and now it's snowing. What is happening here? Like, because I know that's a lot of things in Michigan, they have the lake effect. So the lake effect, like around wintertime and stuff, the whole lake freezes around Michigan. Mm-hmm. So they get these like, as things heat up, the ice melts and breaks, and the water pushes it on the land. Oh. So even in the spring, you'll have these giant piles of ice that build up because they're so dense. Have you ever seen the videos of the ice coming in Michigan? I have not, no.
Yeah, you can watch these videos because like as the ice breaks up and stuff, and the water starts moving, it pushes these sheets of ice on the land, and it's like giant, massive sheets of ice that are just they're just plowing into like the beaches and stuff and just piling up. And you're building these just massive piles of ice sheets that'll just stay there for a month or so because it's such dense ice. Yeah, it's called the lake effect, I believe.
That's really cool. I'm gonna watch that later.
They're neat videos and they're loud too. Like you just hear like all these sheets of ice scraping across each other as they build up. I think it's like a big thing. Property damage is a big thing in Michigan around the lake.
Oh my god, yeah. Ice is fucked, man. Ice is terrible. I remember when we went on an Alaskan cruise when I was like 17, we like boated past or like floated past because we were in a cruise ship, one of like these giant fucking ice glaciers, and I just remember like it was so close to us, like we could have reached out and touched it. We were told not to, but we could just see it, and like you can like. I mean, these things are fucking massive. So, like, having, like, even just a sheet of that, like, crash into the surface, like, oh, my God, that would freak me out. We'd have a margarita party, but it would freak me out.
So, like, I kind of had a hint that they were, that's kind of what I assumed, is that they were filming in Michigan. Because I was aware of the lake effect and stuff. But, it looks like they filmed it in Gay, Michigan, is where they filmed it.
Gay.
Yep, Gay. And this is right along Lake Linden.
We did better than I did because I had no idea where they were filming this. If you would have told me they went out to like the Sahara Desert to film parts of this, I totally would have believed you. I'd been like, oh yeah, that scans.
So it was really cool look though. I liked it a lot how they had the difference with the sand, the ice, and all that. Mm-hmm. It was a really cool looking location. So they go to Stover's house, and immediately, because Stover hasn't seen another normal living person in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I think since his wife, is what he was saying. He has his wedding, he wears his wedding ring. Mm-hmm. So Judy and him just instantly hook up. It's a thing. They just
wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Oh, yeah, they go right into it. They're right on it.
They're like, fuck it, we ain't got nothing else to do. So.
Right. I mean, yeah. What else are you gonna do? So they get right into it, and they are captured by the crawlers, however. So
dun, dun, dun.
They get captured by the crawlers, and this is where we get to see the crawlers' world.
Yeah.
The crawlers live in this underground village, and it's just this, it's like a mine. And it's got all these like walkways and catwalks and all this stuff all over it, and it's just full of junk. There's like scraps of everything, metal and wood, and it's just a whole lot of shit.
It's really disorienting is the word I want to use, because like you're in the dark, like down there, you're in the dark. There's like this brown red lighting from like off the dirt and then off like there's always red lighting whenever you're underground. And I think I read somewhere that a lot of the time they'll use red lighting so that your eyes don't have to refocus a whole lot from the dark. I could just be pulling that out of my ass, but I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. Which is really, really, really weird because, like, I don't know. I've seen a lot of horror films, and typically whenever red lighting starts, it means that something bad is about to happen. So, like, the whole time I'm on edge, like, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? But going back to the crawlers, holy shit. They had a lot of crawlers in this movie. Like, on the IMDb page, like, I count at least like 20 crawlers that are just listed here. And, I mean, that is some intense hair and makeup to get into, because, I mean, they are covered full head to toe in a crawler costume. And I honestly wonder if some of the moans that they speak in is because they couldn't open the mouth of the mask in the makeup.
I could see that. I could see that being a thing. Yeah, I could definitely see that, because the masks were not great. I will say.
Yeah,
and they for some reason like to show a little too much.
Yeah, they let you get in close where you should have just kind of left it a little bit of a question mark. Like, I understand you want to, you put a lot of effort into that, you know, hair, makeup, costuming, and it's a lot of work for the actor as well. Like, we've sat, I mean, Ty's watched me put someone in full head to toe body makeup and it not get a second on screen. Like, it is a lot. Like, still, sometimes, like, leaving it as a question mark can still be just as jarring as showing it to somebody.
Yes.
And I feel like with this one, they should have either zoomed out or they should have left the clarity just a little bit blurry, just so we can't fully make out what exactly it is, but we can still see, like, they're gross.
Yes.
Like, I would have, like, that to me is probably my biggest complaint, is my biggest complaint about the crawlers. Other than that, the way that they move, the way that they interact with one another, it's very, very creepy, but I just kind of wish they wouldn't have shown us everything.
Yeah, I agree. Because, like, I think they could have done, because it is a dark location. They could have done with just, like, hiding it with lighting, making... using some shadows and stuff to kind of, like, just where we can see that these are deformed looking, creatures, but not show too much. It's very obviously masks all the time.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's very obvious.
And you can hear it in some of the sound too. Like, you can hear, like, I call it, like, the plastic echo. Like, it's like this, like you can hear it, like, when you're talking in a mask and, like, you get, like, the muffly kind of echo sound. And, like, you can hear it, like, even after all the work that they've done, you can hear, like, that mask plasticky echo sound.
Yes.
Which, granted, like, in 1992, technology wasn't where it's at nowadays, but, there's different stuff that you can play with and whatnot. But that's my biggest complaint about the crawlers.
Yes, I agree. 'Cause that was a little distracting, a little off-putting when you would catch, just this obvious mask and it's right in your face.
Mm-hmm.
But so they get captured by the crawlers. Stover, he gets set to work in the mine. They immediately sees a man, I guess. They take him, they put him right to work. He's got to mine the garbage dump.
And he has, like, such a visceral reaction to that too. He's like, I'm not going down there. I'm not going down there. And you're like, I felt for Bruce. I'm like, don't you put Bruce down there.
Nobody puts Baby in the corner.
No one puts Bruce in the mines.
The king in the mines.
No, how dare
but they put him right to work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Judy gets saved by the leader of the crawlers, and this is the Seer.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the Seer is played by Angus Scrimm, who we mentioned earlier, and he is a lot different than the other crawlers because he is intelligent, he can speak, and Judy is about to get butchered, but the Seer, steps in and takes her. And we see that the Seer has kind of this, like this other woman, right? This other lady with him.
Yeah.
Cornelia.
Cornelia. And then it's not really specified whether, like, Claude is their daughter or, like, if it's just like a sort of, like, servant or whatever. But we'll get back to Claude later.
So Cornelia is immediately jealous of Judy.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And she even attempts to infect Judy with these little these parasites. They have these little like mutant leech things that are all over the place, and like I think they're on the seers or on the crawlers, right? Like they kind of come out of them and stuff.
Are you talking about the fish?
The little leech looking parasite things, yeah.
Where they talk about like the difference between the males and the females.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, the females will like lay eggs inside like your mucous membrane, and then like the males will like connect to your nervous system to like keep the host calm so that the females can like lay their eggs and do their thing. It's fucking gross. It's disgusting. If I had to design like a type of organism that could possibly kill somebody, or like not even possibly kill somebody, just to fucking terrify somebody, I would definitely go this route, because that is terrifying. Just think about it. Like, it's a couple that literally works together to like not only have their babies, but to like fucking kill you in the process. Like, yeah, you're gonna like put this person in like immense pain, and then I'm going to like put them to sleep. It's like a face hugger times 1,000. It's like a different type of face hugger.
Yeah. They put a lot of thought into it. I thought it was pretty well done. Really like it was a creepy concept. I mean, I thought it was good.
But like, here's the thing: like, there's stuff like that they go into detail with, but then there's stuff that they just kind of let lie. Like,
yeah,
you know, like I want to know like why Cornelia isn't infected or getting sores or anything else like the crawlers do, because like I would assume that even if you're underground, you're still getting exposed to like all of that radiation and all of those chemicals in the soil and whatnot. So it's like, how are you just on a ticking time bomb, or what's going on here?
Because you're literally living in like, she's like living in the heart of it, like surrounded by these things and their environment. So she's right in the mess of it all, and she somehow stays normal.
Yeah.
But luckily her attempt to infect Judy fails because, as we mentioned earlier, Claude?
No, it's just Claude.
Claude, yes.
Claude.
She gets killed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, the seer kills her.
Yep. Yeah.
The seer kills her because Cornelia didn't share Judy, didn't let anyone know that she'd found Judy, was my interpretation. So
yes.
The seer was like, you have to learn to play with your toys, Cornelia. So I'm going to kill Claude. And like Claude is literally like this 12-year-old girl who we watch get blinded out of one eye and then fucking dies brutally.
And there's like big meat. Yeah, there's like this giant meat grinder that they put her through. Yeah.
Oh, gross. Like, I was looking at it while we were watching it, and I'm like, how can someone get out of this? Because like, that's something that I love to do when we're watching horror films and whatnot, especially like if you've ever watched The Collector. The Collector is my favorite one to do this too. Is like, look at the film, look at the room they're showing us, and be like, how can someone get out of there? And that fucking contraption, like they had like razors on the side of it to where like you couldn't grab the sides. They had like the rolling cylinders to where like you would just slide all the way down. The baseball, they try to like stop the propellers, which we'll get into because I also have a problem with that. But like it's insane. Like you really like I would have struggled. Like not that I would have struggled. I probably would have died getting put down under that thing. But like it's a torture device. Like they're gonna kill you. And then the water fountain. You saw the water fountain.
Yeah. So this is like a big like it's kind of like. Turns into like a ritual.
Yes.
You know, it's not only like killing Claude, but they're also like it's this big ritual with all the crawlers, where they drink her blood. They all the crawlers drink Claude's blood, and at this point too, I think the seer reveals himself, right?
Yeah, to Judy.
To be an in-worlder. He's actually an in-worlder.
Yes, yeah, because we see his thing on the back of his neck, which looks a lot more like worn and whatnot than like what Judy's does, like which kind of points to like he's been down there longer. They never actually say how long he's been down there for, but he's been there. which that was weird because like, did you pick up on the fact that she was like, I'm a dreamer, like you have to release me, you have to show me where X, Y, and Z are, and like kind of like creating like this hierarchy of, well, you're an outworlder, I'm an inworlder, you have to do what I say.
Right.
So I didn't understand like where that was coming from, me personally, other than like a societal hierarchy, just because like I didn't have like a whole lot of background behind that, because like it's selective, because like she does it with the people or with the crawlers and the people like below ground, but she never does that to Bruce.
Right.
So I don't know.
So they now while all this is going on, Stover is down in the garbage mines. You get kind of an idea of what's going on down here. So it's basically this garbage dump, and he has to mine through the fucking garbage. Like I don't really know what they're looking for, if they're looking for interesting things that catch their eye, or really what the intent is. But they're
like tools, like just looking for like anything good, really,
anything useful.
Yeah.
So he finds a food processor blade. Is what I see here on IMDb or Wiki. It says it's a food processor blade. So I wondered what kind of blade it was. And he finds this blade, and he uses that to escape. And he also frees Judy. But it doesn't last for long because they're almost immediately captured. Again. And Bruce gets punished. They drop him in some sort of it's like a water pit type thing, right?
Yeah, it's like a pool, like right underneath of their like hallway. It's not like a hallway. It's like you're stepping. Oh, I hate Plague Brain. I hate it so much because I can't fucking think. Like, okay, mini rant. I can't fucking think when I'm sick. Like, I get this mind fog. It's fucking terrible. I'm coming out of it now.
Your mind gets warped.
Exactly. My mind is literally warped.
You get a mind warp when you get the plague.
Exactly. I'm going through mind warp. If I disappear and start talking about crawlers, guys, something is wrong. But yeah, like they trap him underneath of like this iron like flooring, and like you can look down and see him, and like he's in like this pool of water, getting like infected by like these fish, and like he looks like he's in a lot of pain. Like this is actually a good moment for Bruce, because like he's giving it his all. Like I don't know if someone is down there like pinching him or what, but like he looks like he is in pain.
Yeah. So. Now Judy finds out, this is the big twist, that the seer is Judy's father.
Dun dun dun.
Big Star Wars moment there. The villain is it's her dad the whole time.
I am your father, Judy.
And he gives a whole spiel where, like, you know, everything he's done is just, you know, he rationalizes that this all just he did what he had to do to survive. And
now they're going to do what they have to do to survive again.
Yeah, he wants Judy to kind of follow in his footsteps. He wants her to be the next seer.
Yeah.
And she does not want to do this, because he reveals that there's a second part of his plan.
Oh, yes.
Where he wants them to he wants the seer, the father, Judy the daughter.
Yes.
He wants to breed a race of healthy children.
It's so gross. It's so disgusting. I literally looked at that and I went, ah! Because they do make a point to say that Cornelia is barren.
Yes.
So she cannot have any children. So and like even in that they say like the crawlers even have children, and like none of them are stable. Like all of them have some sort of deformity. So like they're trying to like, you know, have this new child, and Judy is like, get the fuck away from me. And like he just chases her like all throughout like this underground thing, and like it's just like this big chase, and it's really weird. And the whole time you're just grossed out, and you're like, oh my god, this dad needs a whooping. Like this is horrible.
But she does in the during the chase, she helps. She gets Stover. She escapes, or she helps Stover get out.
Yeah,
she gets him out.
Yeah,
and he is just covered in these parasites.
Which, first of all, how the fuck did she pull him out of there? He is like double her size, and she's just pulling him out of there.
Yeah,
like soaking wet. Like Bruce is like what, 6'5", 6'4", 6'5"?
Yeah, he's a big dude.
He's a tall dude.
He's a big son of a bitch.
And Judy is like 5'5", like 115, 20 pounds soaking wet, and she's pulling him out. I'm like, girl, if I would have saw her lift him up, I would have been like, I call bullshit right here, right now.
Right.
But that did not happen.
He's covered in all these parasites, and she scrapes them all off with a fucking blade. And
because that's nice and comfy.
Oh, yeah. And this is just enough time for the seer to capture both of them. And he is going to basically repeat the same ritual that we saw earlier with Claude. Mm-hmm. He's going to put them into the meat grinder.
Mm-hmm.
So Judy... No, he's going to put just Stover, right?
It's just Stover. I think it was just Stover because he still needed Judy. Because he was like, I'm going to get what I want, whether you like it or not. Creepy.
Right, yeah. He's going to rape his daughter.
Yeah, that's
the thing you get in this movie.
Sir.
Yep, that's what you get in this movie. But Judy is able to overcome her dad and instead throws him into the machine.
Oh, yeah. But not before Bruce gets a baseball bat.
Yes.
From somewhere. And because like I said, we talked about the trap.
Yes. the big meat grinder.
Pardon. So he gets this baseball bat, which he gets it at the thickest point and puts it in the blade and traps the machine for a little bit. But I'm pretty sure a human baseball bat and a human thigh might roughly be about the same thing. Good God, if Ben ever goes fucking missing and someone listens to this podcast, they're going to be like, Bailey did it. Bailey fucking did it. Look at her comparing baseball bats to thighs. But I don't know. I don't think it would hold for that long. I don't think it would hold for as long as what it did. I think there was definitely some movie magic in that. But maybe 2 baseball bats next time. 2 baseball bats.
At a certain point when you're watching MindWarp, you have to suspend your disbelief.
Yeah.
At a certain point. So, as grounded and realistic as the movie's been up to this point, you have to, at a certain point, just kind of let it do its thing.
I know.
So she chucks her dad into the machine, and all the crawlers, they look to her as the new seer.
Oh yeah. And then she gets this creepy fucking mask put on her, which looks like it's made out of skin. Not gonna lie, it looks disgusting.
And to our surprise, our dear Bruce Stover, of all the people, he is very much accepting of her as new leader. He tries to convince her to stay. They can be they can oversee the crawlers after all this time of him being very anti-crawler, very pro-human. He is now accepting because, unfortunately, the leeches have infected him.
Oh yeah.
And Judy makes her escape. She resists Stover. She resists the leadership. She makes her escape. Stover hot on her tails.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the grosser parts of the movie, actually. So they wrestle around, and Stover throws from the ground and vomits all the leeches, all the leech larvae, right onto her. It's pretty gnarly. Pretty gnarly. And Judy wakes back up. She wakes up into the in-world. So I'm like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, for real. But Bruce actually had a really creepy moment because he I know you remember this, where he sits straight up, cocks his head to the side and goes, "Hello, Judy," and I'm like,
yes.
Yeah. Don't do that, Bruce. That's creepy. But that was actually a really cool, creepy moment for him. But the larva.
Bruce plays as used to we are, as accustomed we are to seeing Bruce as the hero. He plays a pretty cool villain when he has the opportunity to.
I'd love to see him play more villain roles, especially.
There's a great movie. Well, not great, a bad movie, but a great Bruce performance. There's a movie called Assault on Dome 4. Myself, Eric, and Urs watched it. It's on YouTube in its entirety. And it's a pretty shitty, kind of like this era sci-fi movie, where, people didn't really have an idea of how the future was going to look.
Mm-hmm.
But Bruce plays the villain in it, and and he devours the scenery. Like every time he's on, because he's like doing like Shakespearean quotes, and he's like one of those villains. He's like a diehard villain, like he's spouting off Shakespeare, and he's like having fun and maniacal, and like he's like the Joker kind of in it, and it's fantastic. And I get so pissed off talking about that because out of all the movies, that's what he decides to do that performance in. It's such a shitty movie, and he wasted this iconic villain performance. It was such a good performance, and no one's ever going to, probably only a handful of people have ever seen it because it's lost in this movie, Assault on Dome 4. But it is great. It's like probably, if I had to rank my Bruce performance, it's probably like top 5.
Oh, wow.
Top 6, maybe. Top 5, top 6 of my favorite Bruce performances. Not movies. That Assault on Dome 4 is far from the top 10 of my favorite Bruce movies.
Yeah.
But the performance he gives in that is great because he just plays such a fun villain and saves the movie. And it makes the movie actually watchable. But yeah, it's great to see him in a villain role every now and then. I know there's another movie that I don't know if we're ever going to get to. It's a winter movie, and I'm kind of kicking around the idea of it being like maybe something we do around a very cult talk Christmas, but it's called Icebreaker.
Okay.
And it stars Bruce and Sean Astin, who you'll probably know as Bob from Stranger Things.
Oh, okay.
Or,
yeah.
Or was it Sam from Lord of the Rings? So,
I definitely know the Stranger Things reference.
Yeah, have you ever watched Lord of the Rings?
I have watched the first Lord of the Rings, and I've watched The Hobbit.
He's Frodo's best friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh!
Yeah, so that's Sean Astin. So it stars Sean Astin and Bruce, and it's basically Die Hard on at a ski resort. And I can't find the movie itself. I found the movie you can watch for free on Amazon Prime, but it's a Riff Tracks. Riff Tracks is like Mystery Science Theater 2000.
Oh,
I don't know if you ever watched those. You know what I'm referencing? Where it's like people talking over the movie, like making jokes about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I can't take away from it. I'd like to watch the movie itself. But,
yeah, I'd really like to see Bruce play a villain at the age he's at now, and just get him completely make the hair completely silver. And like I'd really love to see like an old soiree Bruce Campbell villain. I think it would be very interesting. I think it would be like a very serious take on what is the Austin Powers villain?
Dr. Evil.
Dr. Evil. I would love to see like a serious kind of Dr. Evil.
If you look
Bruce.
up pictures of Icebreaker, it's even funnier too because Bruce is bald in that movie.
Oh my god! Okay,
like skinhead bald, like scalp.
We're watching it.
I want to do it. It's just a hard movie to find. Like I maybe one day we'll have to settle and watch the Riff Tracks version of it. It'd make it a lot more fun watching it. But
see, I don't mind watching Riff Tracks. I don't mind watching
Riff Tracks.
I love
watching them,
especially if it's like especially if it's like the director commenting on the film, because it's really cool to like see that extra bit. I need to watch more of them just to see and just to kind of get my feet wet with them.
On Amazon Prime, Riff Tracks, like they're free on there. Like, they have a lot of, if you look at look up Riff Tracks, it's they have quite a bit on there that are free. Icebreaker being one of them, if I remember right. So maybe we'll have to watch it sometime. Because I think it'd be it's one I'd love to have Ben on, because it's an action movie and it's like really bad, and I know Ben would enjoy it, or he would not enjoy it, and I would enjoy him not enjoying it. So
I had him watching MindWarp last night with me. So
oh, poor thing. I'm surprised you got him to do that. I have learned my lesson. I'm never watching a Bruce movie with the word mind in the title again. I think those two things don't go together. So I'm going to try to avoid those. But so Judy wakes up. She's back in her old room and everything. And it's like a whole thing. Because, like, so she wakes up the first time. And she gets confronted by her father, who we find out was actually the system operator.
Yeah.
And wants to hand down the position to her. And she wakes up again. And she's in her old room with her mom, who's still alive. And so the whole thing is like, what the hell happened? Like, what is the series of events? Like, it was such a mind fuck, is what I would call this movie. Mind fuck. That's the best word to call it. Because I don't know what the hell happened. Like, the ending is just like 3 different wake ups. I'm like, what one's real? And I guess maybe that's the point. It's supposed to be like, ooh, what's the true outcome? But
first of all, I get so mad, and I do mean mad, when people are like, when movies end and they wake up and it's like a dream. First of all, the only movie that can pull that off is Wizard of Oz. Yes. Because they were the first to do it successfully. And they're the only one that has been able to pull it off successfully ever since. And I invite all of you, Cult Talk fans to comment movies that have also done this supposedly successfully, and we will be the judge of that. Because I truly mean it. Like, Wizard of Oz is the only one. And I hate it when they do that, because I feel like it leaves the other story without end. Like, it leaves a big question mark on the other story. And then it's like, well, where does your character go from there? Like Judy's father said, like, he was gonna rape her. Was that also part of the test to become the systems operator? Or
I have no idea.
Was that a tactic to scare her? Is that like something that, like, it is a real fear? Like what is that? Like, well, there's a lot that needs to be talked about. Or if it's like, no, that was all just your test. All of it was hoo-ha, fuck off. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. But, like, say that, man.
Yeah, like, for real.
Like, don't leave me hanging like that, because now I got questions.
Well, there's also another question that we have to answer, and that is what is the quality of Campbell? We're going to get into that in our next segment. Let's get into the quality of Campbell. Let's get into it.
Good. Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
All right, the quality of Campbell. Now, as we know, the quality of Campbell is a very, very controversial rating system.
Mm-hmm.
We are not rating the movie.
Okay.
We are strictly rating the quality of Bruce Campbell in the movie we watched. Now, MindWarp, from what I understand, had a budget of under $1 million.
Oh, wow.
Under $1 million. Now, I'm going to read you some of the critics, what the critics had to say about MindWarp upon its release.
Mm-hmm.
So, Patrick Nagel of DVD Verdict. So I'm guessing this is like later. It's like post-release.
Mm-hmm.
Probably whenever it got released on, because I think it did get released on DVD. I have it on Blu-ray, shockingly enough.
Oh,
and I bought it for fairly cheap. I think I only spent like $10 on it. But then, that happens a lot where I'll buy these fucking movies, these Bruce Campbell movies, that I really don't want to own. So there's only a handful I want to own. Like, as big of a Bruce Campbell person I am, there's only, I think Ben said it before, it can't all be good, or none of it's good. And there is good Bruce, and unfortunately there's some bad Bruce movies. I mean, but they all have Bruce.
Not all of it can make the fridge, man.
No. So I'll spend money on these movies because I'm like, oh, we're going to need it for the podcast. And then, sure enough, Amazon Prime or Tubi will throw it on there for free, and I just waste my money. So I own MindWarp on Blu-ray. I think I only spent like $8 on it, so I'm not too mad on that. It's a lot cheaper than another Bruce Campbell movie I watched, which we'll get or paid for that we'll get to here later in Cultober. But so Patrick Nagel of DVD Verdict, he said it's almost the epitome of early '90s straight to VHS fare, which I fully believe. I fully agree with.
Did you say straight to VHS?
Yes, because this was '92. Wow, this is '92.
We grow up, and everyone just take a moment. If you were born in 2000, just understand that straight to VHS used to be a thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
I've watched a lot of, like, I prefer, and like, I have a weird thing, but I like straight to video stuff when it's free. When I can get it for free, I like watching it. I like watching it almost more than I do like theatrical stuff now, because the theatrical stuff is so tainted with, you know, trying to get their underlying message and all this like PC and inclusive bullshit that they try to, you know, get in there. And they do that to sacrifice the story. So I like watching a lot of straight to video stuff, independent movies, because they're kind of outside of the Hollywood rim of things, so they can, you know, do their own things. And even like back in the 90s and stuff and early 2000s straight to video was like my golden era, because I had movies like Python and just all kinds of shit came out. Python is like my favorite straight to video movie. But so I love those movies, and like I've seen a lot of 90s straight to VHS and video and DVD and stuff. So I used to live in the video store. I would every Friday night, every Saturday night, my dad would take me to the video store, and I'd get to pick anything I wanted out, and I would just, you know, load up on movies. Like my video store had like a 5 movies for $5 thing or something.
Oh wow!
So I would just get my movies, and it would just be all shit that no one else in my family wanted to watch. So I would go to my room. There's at least one
Mario Brothers in every single one of those piles.
Yes. But like I remember, like that was one of the reasons I got a TV in my bedroom when I was pretty young. Like my dad like made it a point to get me a VHS player in my bedroom because he did not want to watch the stuff I was renting from the video store. So my dad was like, "All right, you're not occupying the living room with this garbage." So he got me a little TV with a VHS player in it, and I got to watch all my movies in my bedroom. So
that's awesome.
I watched a lot of this kind of stuff. This is the truest thing, or this is the epitome of these 90s straight to VHS things. Now, another guy at DVD Talk as well, or another publication, I guess, DVD Talk. So Adam Tyner at DVD Talk rated it 2 out of 5 stars.
Woo.
And wrote, "MindWarp starts off promisingly, but quickly peters out, limping along in a mausoleum of standard issue sci-fi tropes until reaching a final reel that's littered with one unsatisfying twist after another." I agree with that as well.
I mean, that's pretty accurate.
That is very accurate. That's very accurate. And like the unsatisfying twist end, it's just like boom, 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 boom. All these twists, and each one you're like, like it's like, oh, that's
because then like there's a question that I literally just now thought of was Bruce never real? Does Bruce not exist?
Too. Yeah, is Bruce not real? And if he's not real, what was the purpose of his character? If this is all a test, why did we have this, you know, other guy in the thing? If it's supposed to be her test, why are we also breaking focus to give attention to this other person? So now, Mark R. Hausen of Rue Morgue. Now, Rue Morgue, much like Fangoria, is a horror magazine devoted directly to horror.
Oh, okay.
I think Rue Morgue is still going on. Fangoria went away, and it just came back recently. Like it just got revived here recently. I think Rue Morgue, has been going on for like a while, and so they wrote, "It's genuine curio for its cyberpunk themes, a connection to Fangoria." So they gave it they favored it.
Yeah.
Now, Nigel Floyd of Time Out London wrote, "The gore makes up for the writing." I don't think so. I don't think it does.
I didn't think so. I mean, the gore was. I mean, I'd have to disagree with that one, because I mean, the gore was okay, but I mean that's just that it was okay.
Yeah,
like it didn't. Like the puking scene. The puking scene's the only one that stands out in my mind. Any other gore, like it just doesn't stand out to me.
Right. So there was the reviews that was given, the notable reviews for MindWarp. Now, I'll go ahead and give my thoughts on it. So I think it's pretty obvious. What I think of MindWarp. It starts off with such a good. There's some real gems in this movie. There's some real interesting stuff. With its take on virtual reality and, suppressing reality and things like that. And I thought, man, this has some cool concepts. I could not get over the fact that it just looked like every other 90s sci-fi movie I've ever seen. Because it starts out in that like bleak, white out, sterile, setting. All these sci-fi movies just had an idea of like that was what the future was going to be. And it quickly just goes nowhere. Like I think up until they got put in the crawler underworld, I was for the movie. I was with it up until that point because I was like, things were, I thought it was kind of interesting the world they were setting up. I thought Bruce's character was pretty cool when he first gets revealed as this survivalist. That was a cool role for Bruce. It's not something I've ever seen him in. I've seen Bruce do a lot of things, and I've never seen him play like this post-apocalyptic,
nomad.
Nomad. Yeah, I've never got to see that. So to see that, I thought it was cool, and I was like very for the movie. But then as soon as they got put in the crawler's world, which I had high hopes for when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this is neat. It like goes nowhere, and I was very bored from that point on. I think I even like started playing on my phone, doing like podcast shit on there. But like, I think I put together our Cultober calendar while I was watching this movie. That's what I did.
It does look really good. So
yeah, I think that's what I did. So that was my thoughts on it. I was I had high hopes that were quickly dashed. I had no hopes, high hopes, low hopes.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Bailey? What did you think of MindWarp?
Oh man. Well, like I said, I was left with a lot of questions. I liked a lot of parts of it. But that's also the problem is I liked parts of it. I didn't like it as a whole. I liked all of Bruce's parts. I thought he acted phenomenally. It's definitely a different side of Bruce that we haven't seen before. This one, like, we've seen him rough and we've seen him rugged. This one is like, he's rough, he's rugged, but he's also down. Like, he just lost his wife. And like, he's like, I think I'm the only person left. And, then Judy shows up. So it's a different side of Bruce's acting that we haven't seen before. That, and he got to be like kind of creepy, which we saw him kind of get creepy. I thought he was a little creepy in Evil Dead. And then we kind of got like a little peek of that in this movie, which was really cool. I was also very let down by the Crawler's world. Just because like it's such a huge set piece that it's like you could have done so much more with that. You could have either shown it off more, you could have played with the set more. Like, there's just more that could have been done with that. That, and I don't like the dream sequence ending. Like, poof,
yeah,
no,
I hate that.
Not my fave. It was definitely like there was definitely a lot of build up to let down. But I mean, it is like your 90s sci-fi post-apocalyptic movie. So I don't know. I'm kind of trying to think of a nice way to say it. Yeah, it's one of those that I had to like actually force myself to pause when I got up because I'm like, I could just let it run through and I know what's going to happen. But it's like, no, you don't know what's going to happen. So I'd pause it. Sure enough, what I thought was going to happen happened. I'm like, right. So I thought Bruce did phenomenal. I thought the actress, what's the actress's name? Marta Martin.
Yes.
I thought she did really good. Angus Scrim did phenomenal. He was really, really creepy.
Yes.
Oh man, he wigged me out. I don't know. Even when I saw him as like the system operator, I was like, get away. Like, I don't like you.
You should watch the Phantasm movies. I think they're on Tubi, I think. For free,
Phantasm
I think.
Movies?
Yeah, Phantasm. They're like horror like classics. They're considered to be like on par with like the Friday 13th and the Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff.
I bet I may have seen a few just because like my dad is super into movies and whatnot like that. Like, he was just here this past weekend.
Yeah.
So him and I were talking a little bit about it. So I'd venture to say I maybe have seen, I don't think I've seen all of them, but I've maybe seen one or two.
I think I've seen one of them. I have not. I've always thought about diving into them because they're fairly cheap to get like the collection. And I think they're pretty readily available on like I said, Tubi and Prime and stuff. I've always thought about like at least trying to start them because I always hear really good things about them. People are like there's like a pretty rabid like cult fan base for them. So I've always thought about getting into it, but never fully jumped in. But yeah, that's what he's known for, is he's the main villain throughout those films.
Nice. Yeah, we're gonna have to check those out.
What do you think? What's your rating? What's the quality of Campbell for MindWarp?
Quality of Campbell was top notch. This was top notch Bruce right here. Like, this was, I mean, he's definitely in his prime here. He's acting his heart out. I mean, you can tell like when he's in pain, like he emits pain to the audience. Like you can tell like you're on this ride with him. So Fangoria-Campbell is fucking amazing. This movie, however, did not bring me joy.
So what are you giving it?
I'm giving it a groovy.
Groovy.
Or a 10 out of 10.
I am going to, surprisingly, I'm going to say I'm also giving it a groovy because we did get a sufficient amount of Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
I liked every time he was on screen. This is prime time Bruce. This is the Army of Darkness era Bruce. So he was on it. I feel like he was actually enjoying himself, which might be because, fun fact, this movie is where he met his now current wife.
Yay!
She was a production designer on this movie, or costume designer. What was
Yay
it?
For love. Now we know why he was covered up the whole time.
Yes. Yeah.
That first line said it all. Cover up or you'll die.
I'm going to give it a groovy. I think it deserves a groovy. It was good, Bruce. It was fun. He was having fun. I was having fun when he was on screen. Not so much when he wasn't. So I'm going to give it a groovy as well. I think of all the things I have to say about this movie, there are some morsels of entertainment. Bruce is phenomenal, and I can give it a groovy and feel okay about it. But I'm not saying go out and watch MindWarp.
Nope.
But it's good Bruce. It's quality Campbell for the Bruce we get. If it wasn't for Bruce, this movie, I don't think anyone would remember it, and people probably still don't remember it. I mean, that's the thing. I say it all the time, but I don't think people remember most of these movies. But the only thing that gives them any sort of relevance is the fact that Bruce Campbell graced the screen with his presence in them.
Oh, yes.
And this is one of those movies where, without Bruce's presence, would have been long lost. I don't think I'd have it on Blu-ray by any means. I mean, it's probably one of those movies that are lost to VHS. That's an interesting thing to think about, too. Like, speaking about VHS and all that, there are movies that are, like, lost to time because they only ever appear on VHS and were lost, never to be seen again. Like, that's an interesting thing. And I think this movie would have been one of those had it not have some sort of relevance for Bruce. But
a big one that I think was almost like that was Disney's Fantasia.
Fantasia?
I think that was a really big one. I myself personally have never seen it on DVD. I've only seen it on streaming and on VHS.
I think it got Blu-ray. I think they got a Blu-ray release out of it, I think.
Interesting.
Because I know Disney holds that pretty high now. Like
Disney, yeah, that's like the creme de la creme.
Yeah. But there are these like little movies that came out in the early 90s, late 80s and stuff that, like MindWarp or, Minnow's Mind, things like these like just very bland, sufficient movies that came out, they got made, they got released on VHS to be rented, and they probably made their money back in rentals.
Right.
But they never got past that, and they have that one release on VHS, and those tapes are long lost. The companies that put them out are no longer around, so they're the only place they live is in these secondhand stores on VHS, and that's all they'll ever be is these like lost movies that no one cares about, no one has any desire to re-release, and they live strictly on these little plastic tapes that get floated around secondhand stores. That's a wild thing to think about, but there you have it, guys. That was MindWarp, the movie that Bruce found love in.
Aww.
And that's at least a silver lining here.
That is.
And
we did get some pretty good fight scenes out of Bruce in this, which might be showing off for his future wifey. So
there you have it. MindWarp. Jesus Christ, not Minnow's Mind. MindWarp. This is our second Cult of Campbell for Cultober. Cultober the return, and in the same vein, the return of Cult of Campbell for this month. And there we have it, a groovy for our second episode of Cult of Campbell. And Cultober will roll on because we have plenty more coming up this month, all leading up to our Halloween Eve special, Beetlejuice.
I'm so fucking excited.
Does
the audience know what we're doing for Beetlejuice yet? Can we tell them?
It's like we did so for our holiday specials, like we've done in the past. For last year, we did Trick or Treat. We did Thanksgiving for Thanksgiving. We did Krampus for Christmas, and Ben's birthday special, we did Aliens, right?
Yeah, Aliens, the second one.
So like we do for our special episodes, it's a watch along. Now this watch along, we're going to have the whole crew, hopefully, fingers crossed, the whole crew for our watch along for Beetlejuice to celebrate Halloween Eve. So that is the plan. Now Cultober is going to be full of stuff. We all got to pick movies for the Cultober every Friday, the YouTube exclusive for Cultober. Every Monday, we'll be right here for Cult of Campbell. Cult of Lore is putting out a couple special episodes. We have a show that Ben and I, you've already seen one. Ben and I are writing a little small show for YouTube. Also, Cult Talk Conspiracy here on Cultober. So Cultober is just chock full of stuff to celebrate one of our favorite holidays. I think all of our favorite holidays, Halloween. So we're celebrating it with Cultober, the return, and we're happy you guys with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, there's only one thing to say. Make sure you follow us on all of our social medias at Cult Talk Net, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, to keep up with all the Cultober going-ons. And make sure you're with us Halloween Eve for Beetlejuice. And also, Halloween Day will be is actually a Monday. So we have a Halloween special Cult of Campbell. We'll be doing Sundown, which I've never seen. So
yeah,
I think it's me, you, Ben, and Eric.
A lot of us are on that one. I remember that.
I think it's us four. I think it's us four on that one. So make sure you look out for that. And until next time, stay groovy.
Hail to the king, baby.
That's it? That's the best you got?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.